Testing, testing. Do not panic. The show will begin shortly. Peanuts are available in the back. Okay, just kidding. Jan Buinis to the front.
How are you? Good evening, everybody. How are you tonight? Thank you guys for joining us tonight at UACNJ up in lovely Jenny Jump State Forest. I'm glad to see we have chairs and blankets and face coverings. Thank you folks for coming out. Thank you for making your reservation today. And with that being said, I'm going to turn the mic over to one of my favorite people.
Thank you so much, Matt. Good evening, everybody. My name is Jan Buinis. I am the wife of the speaker this evening. Billions of years from now, when the Milky Way and Andromeda galaxies collide, what Lonny Buinis would like people to remember him for is not only showing good visitors like you what's up in the sky for the 26 years since UACNJ got started, but also having been the kind of person who was only reasonably annoying to his wife, Jan. I disagree with the reasonably annoying. Lonny respects practical experience over book knowledge, but figures some of you might want to know why we should believe anything he says. He holds degrees from Stevens Institute of Technology in Physics and Computer Science and is a member of the International Association of Astronomical Artists. The Lonny Buinis Observatory was dedicated here in April 2016. Still, Lonny is perfectly comfortable if you choose to look through the telescopes, ask the astronomers questions, and see what's up in the sky for yourselves. Without further ado, I introduce this evening's guest speaker, Lonny Buinis.
Thank you, Jan Buinis. I have a microphone. You can keep that one as a souvenir.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm glad you can make it. Do we have any new visitors? That's great. I guess you have your hands up, but I can't see, so this is wonderful. No, I can actually see you a little bit. Just make sure that I know if you can hear me clearly, and I'll speak even louder and maybe break the microphone. So the reason we're here today is to find out what's up in the October sky. But so what? You know, isn't the sky always the same? No, you don't have to believe anything I say. You don't have to take my word for it. Please check for yourselves. That's why we're here, to learn about the sky. We have a lot of dedicated and talented amateur astronomers here, all of us who are here to serve you, the public. So enjoy, and let's find out what's up this month, because every time we look in the sky, we're looking in one direction, and usually one time of night, right? How many of you enjoy getting up at 5 in the morning to look at the sky? We have some crazy people here. All right, so some of us are a little more eccentric than others, and they like to get up early. But I don't know about you. I like to look at the sky at a reasonable hour, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. So maybe you have to go to bed earlier, I know. But you might want to look at the same time every night, And you'll notice that the sky is going to drift and change. You'll notice that that bright orange dot over there, that's not a star. That thing is going to be higher and higher earlier in the evening. So if you look at the same part of the sky every night, it will be moving this way. And so that's why we have what's up in the September sky, and what's up in the April sky, and what's up in the May and June and July skies. And we're going to do something different this year. We're going to have what's up in the November, December, January, February, March skies, where normally UACNJ is closed because, why? It's freezing. Yes, right. Audience participation is not discouraged. So it's a little too cold, and normally we don't do this. However, modern technology has made it possible to do that online, as we are doing right now, streaming for our friends out there in the bigger world. So we'll be doing what's up in the winter sky as well. But this is the last presentation where we do it live like this, and I'm glad all of you chose to bring your blankets and freeze with me. So, I've got some news first. Astronomers have discovered a giant, I like the way that the URL, the address, tells you the whole story. Giant planet found around white dwarf. Actually, they found a planet that's bigger than its star. Isn't that bizarre? The planet is WD1856b. Very memorable name. Everybody repeat after me. WD1, no, forget it. Excellent. Very good. You're all getting the hang of scientific terminology. Excellent. Well, they found this planet. It's about 80 light years away, going around a star that's smaller than it. Every 1.4 days. That's fast. How many days does it take Earth to circle the sun? Right, 365. Mercury, innermost planet in our solar system, goes around in the same number of days as there are keys on a piano or constellations in the sky. And that is piano players. How many? Who's a piano player? Raise your hand. You're not a piano player. You can leave. No, that's okay. Correct answers are acceptable even from people who are not piano players. So this is amazing. This thing is going around very close to its star, very fast, 1.4 days. And astronomers were puzzled at first, but because we have supercomputers now, we can simulate very accurately what happened in the early solar system, in our solar system, which must be like the billions of other solar systems that we've actually found with the Kepler Space Telescope and new space telescopes coming up and in orbit now. And that is that our solar system started out very different when the giant planets Jupiter and Saturn, which are in the sky right now, right behind the trees, so where you're sitting you won't see them, but if you stand up and come over here, don't do it, you will see Jupiter and Saturn, the giants. Those giant planets were much closer to our sun when they formed, and they drifted away over time. And we can show that mathematically now because of supercomputers. We can simulate it. And so they figured out this giant planet used to be further from this little star and drifted inward. So that's one bit of news. Some of you might have heard of the other, did you hear about this other quintuple star system? 5, yeah, count them, 5. WD40, anybody ever hear of it? All right. Coming attractions, all of you young members of the audience, you need not leave. Everything has been approved for G audience, general audience. So here's what's coming up. And you can find it, as I did, on csky.org. Disclaimer, I do not work for csky.org. I just find it useful, and I'm going to be throwing out a lot of useful references that you can check out yourselves at home. So please do. I'm just an amateur astronomer. I'm not a professional. I do this for love. So don't think of me as an expert on everything. Go to csky.org, and if you haven't memorized or written this down, I see people scribbling furiously on their tablets and their phones. You lazy bums. All right, that's all right. If you can't write it down or take a picture or remember, just go to csky, look it up, right? Click on Explore the Sky, right? Because that's why we're here. You'll see a whole bunch of tiles come up. Look at the second one, Astronomy Reference Guide. Click that. And you'll see a menu on the left. Don't be confused. Look for the astronomical calendar. And if you click on that, you'll get your choice of years, past, present, and future. And this year, it's 2020. Again, I'm not going to punish anybody who gets a wrong answer. I won't ask you to leave. I'll ask you to do 20 push-ups, but I won't ask you to leave. Click on 2020, and you'll get the whole year. And what I did was I captured all of October, right up to November. Got it? Good. Okay. Thank you for coming. Let's do a quick recap before we go. Just kidding. This is by the way, this artist, Ellen Croteau, makes artwork out of old recyclable bottle caps. Isn't that cool? We'll try that again later. Isn't that cool? Yeah, that's an eye. Keeping an eye. And this is my favorite piece of equipment. What we're going to use tonight when we go outside, we are outside. When we're done listening to me bloviate, look that up, bloviate, you're going to go over there and you're going to be careful not to kick the tripods of the amateur astronomers who've spent hours setting up their telescopes to align to the sky. You would make them cry. You don't want to see an astronomer cry. It's a very pitiful sight. And what you want to do is be careful in the dark and ask them a lot of questions. We're going to look using a piece of equipment that all of us have, the naked eye. Repeat after me. Naked. I don't hear everyone. Naked eye. Yes. Use it. That's why we're here. We're going to learn about the sky. We're going to start using equipment like the naked eye and binoculars and telescopes. So let's start with a month of threes. We've got 3 moons, 3 planets, 3 meteor showers, all this month, October 2020. We're going to start with 3 moons, 2 full moons and 1 new moon. Now, 2 full moons does not often happen. In fact, it's so rare, it's called once in a blue moon. You ever hear of that? Yep, blue moon. It means when a month has 2 full moons. Now, the moon takes 27 1/3 days to circle the Earth, measured by the stars. But if you measure it by the sun, the Earth and moon are moving around the sun, so it makes the phases of the moon change every 29 1/2 days, which is roughly 30. And if you divide 30 into 365, you don't get 12 evenly, do you? Right? What's 12 times 30? 360, right. So the moon's orbit doesn't fit neatly into 1 year. And that means that some months, the longer months, can sometimes fit 29 1/2 days between full moons. And that's what happens this month. At 21:06 Universal Time, if you want to like to convert that, astronomers go by UT, Universal Time. That's the time in London at the prime meridian, right? They actually measure it at that as the 0 hour. We are 5 daylight savings time hours later because we're rotating into the sun. England goes first, the Atlantic Ocean, and then the eastern United States. So if you want to convert that to our time, 21 minus 5 is, mathematicians, 16. 16, we don't go by military time. 16 minus 12 is 4. 4:06 a.m. is when we actually have the full moon happen on October 1st. And as you know, today is not October 1st. That was in the past. So the moon is no longer full. Native Americans call this the hunter's moon. Good time to hunt. The leaves are falling. The game is fat, ready for the hunt. But all of the full moons throughout the whole year each have poetic names. This is really cool, and there's often more than one. So, I don't want to get in everybody's way here. So for the October moon, it's the travel moon, the blood moon, the harvest moon. right? Harvest takes place right around this time. We've got another full moon at the end of the month, 31st. And that is the blue moon, and it happens at 14:51 minus 5 is. It's like to exercise our brains a little arithmetically. 9:51, again in the morning. Why do all the moons have to happen in the morning? Why can't it be at a more convenient time? I like to sleep that late. And then the new moon is the opposite of the full moon. The moon goes around the earth in a rough circle. It's not a perfect circle, it's more squashed. So sometimes the moon is closer to us, sometimes further, sometimes a little bigger, sometimes a little smaller. When the moon is full and it's close to us, it's called a supermoon. Have you heard of that? Supermoon. It's a little bigger. It's bigger by so little that you cannot tell by the naked eye. In fact, you have to measure it. So if somebody tells you, "Woo, supermoon," get excited, run around in a circle. No, don't. Calm down. It's just a little bigger and a little closer. The new moon is the best time to look at deep sky objects, things that are faint and far away, like clouds, nebulas, like faint stars, like star clusters. We can see all of those. Tonight's not a bad night for it. It's pretty clear. We lucked out. The clouds left. So we're going to look for things called deep sky objects, thousands of light years from us. The stars, hundreds to thousands of light years away. Everything's at a different distance in the sky. And the new moon is good because it's close to the sun, right? You can't see it. There's no moonlight. It's a nice dark sky. Where would you look for the new moon in the sky? Would you look tonight? Nope. The source of light. What's the source of light? What lights up the moon? The sun. All right, so if you put something close to the light source, like this light here, can you see my remote control? What if I put it in front of the light? It's a little harder, isn't it? The moon is almost in front of the sun. It misses it by a little bit. If the moon was in a perfect circle, lined up with the Earth's equator, we'd have an eclipse every month where the moon would go in front of the sun. But the moon is tipped in its orbit a little bit, about 5 degrees, misses the sun except every so often. That's why we don't have eclipses every month. We've got 3 planets. There's one of them right now. The red star that I talked about earlier is Mars, the planet Mars, now very close to Earth. Only some 40 or 50 million miles. That's nothing. Well, that's kind of far. The moon, to compare, the moon is 250,000. 250,000 miles. Right? Mars, something like 40 or 50. So planets are a good deal further away than the moon. The sun is 400 times further away from us than the moon, and it's 400 times bigger. So the two look to be about the same size. October 1st, look for the planet Mercury. Well, now it's going to be a little difficult. It was at its furthest distance away from the sun, and we measure distance in the sky by angles, right, degrees. And you would look, if it's the eastern elongation of a planet, an inner planet like Mercury or Venus from the sun, east, when I face south, is on my left. So facing south, the sun sets in the, what? West. So that way is west, that way is east. Eastern elongation means Mercury is east of the sun. That means you look for Mercury in the night sky, just after sunset. Mars opposition, October 13th, not too far away. It'll be at its closest, well, actually directly in the line between the sun, Earth, Mars, in a straight line, almost at its closest distance to the Earth. Now, Mars has a peculiar orbit. It's kind of egg-shaped a little bit. So it sometimes, at its closest approach, it's even better and closer. There are best oppositions and not so best oppositions. We had a good one about 2003. And it's every 15 to 17 years. Actually, we do have a good one this year. Pretty close. Best time to see details on the planet. You might see them tonight when you look through the telescope. And actually, the way we're doing it now, we're projecting an image on the wall outside the observatories so you can all see it at once instead of having to wait in line. Isn't that great? We didn't have no popcorn, no peanuts while you're waiting, so that's a good way to do it. And then Uranus, the planet Uranus, comes after Jupiter and Saturn. So Mars, number 4, Jupiter, number 5, Saturn, number 6, the 7th planet, Uranus, the green planet, about 5 times bigger than the Earth, is in the same part of the sky, and we can point that out. It looks like a little blue-green dot in most telescopes because it's so far away, but it does have a disk. And because planets have disks, they send a lot of light to our eyes. Stars are so far away, the amount of light they send to your eye is so narrow, such a narrow cone, that even the Earth's atmosphere can interrupt it and make a star twinkle. But if you notice, Mars isn't twinkling. And that's one way to tell a planet from a star. The other is in the name, Planetides, the Greek, wanderer. Planets move through the sky against the other stars. And our ancestors noticed that. And they tracked the planets and the moon and the sun through 12 constellations, the zodiac. We're going to take a look at that in just a bit. Finally, one of the ways you can look at planets, and I won't do it just now, I'll do it if there's time at the end, is to use free computer programs like Celestia. Look it up, celestia.space. It's available for computer, for phone, lets you fly through space so that you can actually see what planets look like from their moons, what the planet Saturn might look like from some of its moons, what the Earth would look like eclipsing the sun seen from our moon. Very cool. Finally, coming attractions, 3 meteor showers, 2 minor ones, the Draconids coming up around now, and then the end of the month, the Taurids. In the areas that you and I live in, unlike Jenny Jump, which is very dark, unless you have a very dark sky, it's hard to see meteors. That's the best ingredient. Dark skies. You need specialized equipment, though. You need your naked eye, and you need a lawn chair. Because you want to lie down and look at as much of the sky as possible, because the meteors originate from one point and spread out. Just like railroad tracks spreading out from the distance to you, meteors travel on parallel tracks, just like railroad tracks. But because the Earth passes through the path of an old comet that's breaking up, we see the debris, the meteors, spread out over the whole sky. So, very easy way to do it. Lie back, face south, look up, and look all over the sky for bright, disappearing meteors. When they land, by the way, what is it called when they land? Meteorite. Meteorite, correct. So the best one to look for, toward the end of the month, the 21st and 22nd, the Orionids peak. And they are debris left over from probably the most famous comet, Comet Halley, which I saw in the year 1984, the last time it was by. Halley takes 76 years to circle the sun once. And it doesn't do it in a circle at all. It does it in a cigar-shaped ellipse. So it takes a long time. When it finally comes in close to the sun, it's moving pretty fast, and then slows way down when it's out far away. Halley's Comet. The debris left over, the Earth is going right through the path of the comet. Now, the last time the comet came by was 1984. The time before that, my grandmother saw the comet, because everybody did, because the Earth passed right through its tail, right through the tail of the comet. The comet's tail went from the horizon right to the top of the sky, the zenith. It was that big. It was beautiful. The skies were dark in 1910. Hardly any electricity back then. It was just invented. And so she had a beautiful view of Comet Halley. The view of the comet that I saw, to use the technical term, stunk. And the next time it's by, in the year 2061, when I hope to still be around, the view will, again, stink. But the time after that will be great, and I'll be long gone. 76 years each time. Mark Twain, famous author, born around the time 1910, around the time the comet came in. He died right around the time the comet came back the next time. Oh, I'm sorry, he was born the time before 1910, died 1910. All right, so right now, instead of talking about what's up in the sky, let's show you using a computer program that is free that you, gentle audience members, can do for yourselves on your own computers or phones, any kind of device. We're going to take a look at those later. Let's take a look at Stellarium. These programs are continually upgraded. They are free. The funny thing about Stellarium is that it is in version 0 point something. You know, when are they going to get to 1? When I started, it was 0.14. We're all the way up to 0.20. Woohoo! I'm waiting for 1. I might have a long wait. Stellarium lets you simulate what the sky looks like from anywhere on the Earth, anytime in the past, present, or future. And you can look at the sky the way you would see it on a star map. You can look at the sky in close-up. You can zoom in. You could change directions. It's kind of like having one of those circular star charts that we happen to sell in our gift shop. Ooh, shameless advertisement. One of many. So I'm going to turn to the north. I can make Stellarium look like a planisphere, circular star chart, like the ones we sell. But I'm going to look in the north for a very famous group of stars that this time of the year lies very low in the sky. Right? 7 stars are actually 8 stars for you people with sharp eyesight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And look at the Benz star. You will actually find the 8th star there. The Big Dipper. Recognize it? Yeah. If you want to do it from Jenny Jump, from here, from UACNJ, you look over the roof that way. Approximately like that. So when we're done, the Big Dipper is going to be very low. You might have trouble seeing it. The Iroquois Indians in this area, long ago, the start of America, had a legend that 3 brave warriors, followed the bear and shot an arrow into it, and the bear bled. And this time of the year, when the bear is low in the sky, it bleeds on the trees and turns them red. And that's why we have autumn or fall. As the Big Dipper falls to its low point in the sky, so we have fall. Good way to remember. Look here along the 2 pointer stars at the top of the bowl, front of the bowl, and go 5 times their distance apart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you will shoot right past the North Star Polaris. So named. Why is it named like that? Polaris. Well, anything that spins has a north and a south pole, right? I've got a pole in the top of my head. My wife will tell you there's a hole there too, probably, in my head. Thank you very much. Yeah, so the Earth's pole points somewhere. It points that way, here from New Jersey. And we happen to be lucky enough to have a bright star right near it. It's not exactly there, but it's close. With another 6 stars that form Little Dipper. Very good, the Little Bear. Big Bear, Little Bear, a dragon in between. I wonder if I can shut this light to make things a little bit more visible. Is that better? All right. Right between the 2 dippers, there's a star called Thuban. That was our pole star several thousand years ago when the Egyptians built the pyramids, and the pyramids pointed to the pole star Thuban. So you can see over time the Earth wobbles and the pole drifts and changes position. If any of you have been ever lucky enough to visit Switzerland, the country of Switzerland, they have a clock with a gear that moves with the wobble. Right? Can you see it? Now, it's very slow. It takes, one revolution takes 24,772 years, nearly 25,000 years for the Earth to wobble. Now, what's happened in the past 3,000 years, as the Earth has wobbled, it's changed the position of the zodiac constellations, the path that the moon, the sun, and the planets follow. And that means we have 13 constellations now, not 12 signs of the zodiac. Astrology is off. There's an extra sign. I'll show it to you in just a few moments. But first, we're looking at the northern constellations. Since there will be a test later, I want you to memorize the big bear, the little bear, the dragon Draco, the house, and the W. Those are the king and queen, Cepheus and Cassiopeia. Now, if any of you have seen the movie Clash of the Titans, or if you've been to the library in the last 3,000 years, right, no excuse, it's been there, the books have been there for 3,000 years, the story of Perseus and Andromeda and Cassiopeia, who started the story by bragging that her daughter Andromeda was more beautiful than any of the ancient Greek goddesses. Oh, terrible. That's an awful mistake to make, because as you know, the ancient Greek goddesses were jealous. Oh, okay, very, very good. Sorry about that. Every time I do this, I want the audience to know I'm a fallible human being. I make one mistake, and I've learned not to make the same mistake the next time, but being the creative kind of guy I am, I make a new mistake each time. So thank you, Kim. All right, I won't be doing that again. So you don't want to brag about your daughter to an ancient Greek goddess, because it starts a whole story, and the whole thing's in the sky. So see if you can find Cassiopeia, Perseus, Andromeda, Cetus the monster, Medusa, the creature slain by Perseus. They're all up there. You've just found 5 circumpolar constellations that circle the North Pole endlessly and never rise or set. And that's why they're called circumpolar, around the pole. But all the other constellations do rise and set, just like the moon just rose. Did you see that? The moon's been creeping up, rising in the east, setting in the west. And that's because the Earth rotates. And as the Earth rotates, eventually it becomes day. Can you see the stars? No. If you know where to look, you can see planets. Let's go back. In Stellarium, I can set the date and time to anything. I can go back to the 3rd. I can go into the nighttime, 14, 18, 19, 20 hours. Minus 12 is 8 p.m. Right? It's still pretty dark, getting pretty dark at 8. Let's leave it at 8:08 for now and take a look at some of the neat things happening over in the most interesting part of the sky, the south. Before we do that, you might want to look at things that are disappearing in the area where the sun sets, which is the west, that way, all right, because they disappear first. And that you can find by following the Big Dipper's handle star, Arcturus, one of the night's brightest stars, an orange-colored star. Stars have colors depending on their temperatures. The sun is yellow, average. Stars that are red, you might have heard of red stars. They're not really red. They're more towards the orange part of the spectrum. Those are cooler. So blue stars are hotter. If you look high, let's start low and go high, because we're going to find planets in this part of the sky. Look low in the sky, and you'll find a famous constellation, that has a shape like a very familiar kitchen utensil, spout, lid, and handle. See it? Making steam rising up. What is that? Kettle, yeah. We call it the teapot, we amateur astronomers, the teapot. And the teapot is part of a constellation called Sagittarius, or who is an archer with a bow and arrow. The archer, Sagittarius, is one of the signs of the zodiac, next to the scorpion, who is very low in the sky this time of year. You can see his tail and maybe his disappearing red heart star. But here at Jenny Jump, the trees are in the way. Look above the spout of the teapot for the beautiful Milky Way galaxy, looking like a river of milk, Milky Way. It goes all the way across the sky. And the one reason that we're not going to see it tonight, and I urge you to come back again next month or to any of our Saturday talks, is that the worst time to look for faint objects in the sky, like the Milky Way, like star clouds, is when there's moonlight. So we're going to focus tonight, when we look through the telescopes, at brighter objects like star clusters and planets. However, there are some pretty groupings to see. To the left of the scorpion is my sign. I was born, supposedly, according to astrology, your sun sign is where the sun was when you were born. The sun passes through the constellations. Does it mean it's near those stars? Nope, stars are very far away. They're so far that we measure the distance in how long it takes light to get there. Right? One of the nearest star to the sun is so far away it takes like 4 years to travel. Light is slow. Did you know that? It's annoyingly slow. It takes light about an hour to get to us from Jupiter. Well, let's see. Right now Jupiter's in opposition. So Jupiter, 5 AU minus 1 AU for the Earth is 4, about 100 million miles per AU, 400 million miles, right? That's pretty far. Right, it takes about 8 minutes per AU, 4 times 8, 32, half an hour to Jupiter. We're looking at Jupiter as it was in the past. We're looking at the moon as it was in the past. In the past, 3/4 of a second ago. That's not the current moon. That's way back when the moon was 3/4 of a second older. You're looking at Mars about 15 minutes ago. That's what it looked like 15 minutes ago. We can never know what it looked like now until that light gets here 15 minutes from now. So I expect you all to sit patiently and wait. And let me know what Mars looks like in 15 minutes, okay? You promise? Okay. You don't have to believe everything I say. Check it out. Here's the bikini bottom, or bikini top, or Capricornus. Sea goat, that's my sign. The only problem is, because the Earth has wobbled since astrologers named these things, the sun was actually in Sagittarius. Astrology is off by one entire sign, shifted. And to make matters worse, you don't want to make an astronomer cry. You can make an astrologer cry by showing them the 13th sign of the zodiac, the serpent bearer, Ophiuchus, the guy who carries the snakes. All right, so there's two parts. There's the serpent's caput head, serpent's cauda tail. And so Ophiuchus he's the serpent holder, the guy who's carrying the serpent, and the planets pass through that constellation. We can see that by turning on Stellarium's markings, the path that the Earth's orbit makes through space. See the red line? See it going through Scorpion, a little bit of Ophiuchus, right through Sagittarius, right through Capricornus, right through Aquarius and Pisces. All signs of the zodiac. Whoops. Pardon me while I destroy some equipment. Easy to do in the dark, right? Don't get up and start running around. If we look high in the sky, way up, and look for the Milky Way when the moon is not around, you will find 3 bright stars that help you find your way. 3 bright stars, 3 different constellations. There's a cross shape, a little parallelogram, and something that kind of looks like a delta shape. So we've got 3 bright stars, 2 of which have been in famous science fiction stories. Altair in Forbidden Planet, the movie. Vega in Contact, the movie and the book. And Deneb, the Tale of the Swan, which unfortunately for Deneb has not been in any story. Cygnus the swan, Lyra the harp, Aquila the eagle. If you don't see them, well, got to use your imagination. There are interesting objects to find in this part of the sky. For instance, if you look at the head star in the swan, this is a beautiful star, the likes of which I've never seen anything quite like it. It's a true double star. If you look in the bend of the Big Dipper's handle, you'll see two stars that are close. It's called a visual double, but they don't revolve around each other. They just happen to be lined up accidentally in our direction. If you look to the side, out in space, they'd be far apart. From Earth, they look close. But these stars actually revolve around each other in a long period orbit. The star's name is Albireo. And ask some of the amateur astronomers here to show it to you. It's a beautiful color contrast. I've never seen anything like it. One of them is a brilliant golden color, somewhat like our sun, our star, the sun. The other, a cyan, a green-blue. And the color contrast is striking. Albireo, the head of the swan. Check it out. Can you see, by the way, in our telescopes, could you see the stars like this? Would you see them as disks? Nope, sorry to disappoint you. You can never see a star's disk in an optical telescope like the ones we have here. The star is just too far away. Also, can you see stars through clouds if you have a really big telescope? This is a trick question. No. Nope. Nope, you need a radio telescope that uses radio waves. Oh, in this part of the sky, there is a cute little constellation I like to point out. It's really fun. It's the thing that Sagittarius shoots from his bow, the arrow, Sagitta. It's just a few little stars. So if I take away the picture, it's kind of hard to find. But what's not so hard to find is something right next to it that you might find in a coat closet. See it? It's upside down. Yeah, it's exactly. Can you say that louder? Did you all hear that? Looks like a coat hanger. And the actual name for this asterism, it's not a constellation, it's a star pattern. Technical term asterism is coat hanger. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's the coat hanger. Ask the amateur astronomers to show that to you. It's a lot of fun. It's not a constellation, but it is, I think, one of the most fun asterisms. Another famous asterism is a part of the Great Bear, the Big Dipper. The Big Dipper is not a constellation. Surprise, surprise. It's a lot of fun facts up there. I urge you to go out and look for these things yourselves. To wrap things up, before we do a little review, I want to look for a huge, big, giant, great square in the sky that goes by the name... What? Right, the Great Square. Perfect. It is, it's actually so big that you have to turn your head to see the whole constellation when you see it in the real sky. It'll be coming up later on tonight after the moon, and it's that part of the sky that I'm going to use this winter. It's going to be too tough to do it now, but in What's Up in the November Sky, I'll show you the Andromeda Galaxy, this part of the sky. We can see it here in Stellarium. This is Pegasus, the winged horse ridden by Perseus, the hero who rescued the Princess Andromeda from the monster Cetus by holding up the head of the Medusa. Any person, any creature who looked into the eyes of the Medusa would be turned to stone. And that's how he defeats the Cetus, the monster. And I've just ruined the story for anybody who hasn't seen it. So, spoiler alert, too late. Go see the movie, Clash of the Titans. There are two versions, an older one and a newer one. If you look at the horse, the flying horse, you can use the flying horse to find, in a big arc like this, a Y-shaped group of stars between the arms of which lie the furthest thing that you can see in the universe with the naked eye. Check it out. It's in the Guinness Book of World Records. It's so far away that we're seeing it as it looked over 2 million years ago. 2 million years. It's taken light that long to get here. And yet, to a galaxy, that's nothing. Our galaxy is about 10 billion. That's 10,000 million years old. Andromeda, we're seeing it as it was 2 million years ago. So to a galaxy, a few million years is nothing. They live for billions of years. Now, as my wife pointed out when she introduced me, we are on a collision course right now with Andromeda. Did you know that? The Andromeda galaxy and the Milky Way are going to merge and become one big galaxy with the two supermassive black holes at the center of each merging to become one. But don't panic. It's going to take a little while, about 3 billion years. Set your clocks. 3 billion years from now. It's like a slow dance. And then the stars are so far apart they won't even collide. The galaxies will merge over the course of 1 billion years or more in a slow dance to become one super galaxy. The Milky Way has done this. It has eaten up several satellites. If you're lucky enough to visit the southern hemisphere, look for the Clouds of Magellan. Those are 2 little galaxies that passed completely through the Milky Way a few hundred million years ago. In a small telescope, the Andromeda galaxy looks like a little cloud. In big telescopes like the Hubble, we can see that it has a couple of its own little satellites, just like we do. The Andromeda galaxy is a little bigger than our Milky Way, and our Milky Way has 1,000 billion stars in it. That's 1 million stars. That's 1 trillion stars. That's 1 followed by 12 zeros. There, I just said it a whole bunch of different ways. That's a lot. It's a lot of stars. Arthur C. Clarke, in the book and movie 2001, A Space Odyssey, had a very poetic way of looking at the number of stars in the galaxy. At the time the book was written in 1968, we knew of 100 billion stars in the Milky Way. And he said that if you looked at all of the lives of all the people who ever lived and died on the Earth through all of history, there would be 1 star in the Milky Way in the sky for every one of those souls who have ever lived or died on Earth. A private heaven and a private hell for each person who ever lived. Very poetic. Read the book. It's really cool. Now we know there are 1 trillion stars in our Milky Way. So that's a little preview of the November sky, when we can see Pegasus, the flying horse, coming up in the east. But I should also point out that tonight, don't forget Jupiter, Saturn. Look for them earlier on when you don't have trees and houses in the way, and especially the planet Mars. I'm going to zoom in on Mars right now. In Stellarium, you click on an object, press the space bar, it centers, and I have to zoom in. Look how much I have to zoom in to just see even a tiny disk on the planet Mars. Mars shows just some dark markings in small telescopes. Even large telescopes, it's hard to see details because they are features that are light and dark caused by dust blowing over dark volcanic rock. Long ago, our ancestors thought that these were seas, but we know them to be just rock. And there's a bright spot, Hellas, Hellas, named by early mappers of the planet Mars for what they thought was a bright sea. That's actually a plain, a giant crater, one of the biggest on Mars, Hellas, named for the native name for the country of Greece. The dark markings visible even in small telescopes, a lot of fun. The 2 small moons of Mars, Phobos and Deimos, are not visible in our telescopes, much too close and faint to the planet. So you can do all this in Stellarium. I urge you to do it for yourselves. Kids, do this at home. You know how they always tell you don't do this? Perfectly safe. Let's conclude our presentation tonight by taking a look at some planets. Amateur astronomers can do some amazing work, amazing pictures of planets that they never could do before. This is Mars in a 30-inch telescope. Damian Peach, famous amateur, semi-professional astronomer. And there's some of the markings we saw before. Sirius Major is the biggest one. This one was done in a 10-inch telescope, and the amount of detail is incredible. Even smaller telescopes can see amazing details. You will not see that looking through telescopes tonight because the Earth's atmosphere interferes. And what the people do, the astronomers who do these pictures, who make them, they use special electronic equipment to take many exposures very quickly. Then a computer processes them together to remove noise. It gives a much sharper image than what we can see. But if you're patient, if you look through the telescope long enough, the air sometimes clears for just a moment or two. Then you get what we call perfect seeing, and you can see even more detail with your God-given equipment, which we call the naked eye. Right, thank you. Jupiter looks gorgeous. In a telescope, it's got a lot of detail. I think I compared the amateur picture on the left with the Hubble Space Telescope picture on the right with a mirror much, much bigger, right? So it's amazing how much detail we can get from astronomers today, from amateur astronomers who don't do it for money, who do it for love. And those are the people who volunteer to give their time to help you, gentle members of the public, learn about the sky. So if you'd like to contribute to our donation bottle, which is somewhere around here, right there, please do so if you enjoyed what we've been doing. But of course, everything is run free. Jupiter again, with changes. We've been seeing changes over the past years. The red spot is getting smaller. Yep, they call this big giant great storm you guessed it, Great Red Spot. Yep, we've been watching it shrink. Used to be when I was growing up, when I was about your age, it was 3 times the width of the Earth. The Earth, 8,000 miles across. This thing was 25,000 miles across. The biggest storm in the solar system is now shrunk down to a little bigger than the Earth. I cry for the Great Red Spot. But no, don't worry, it's been there 400 years. I don't think it's going anywhere.
It's probably glad to be done with puberty.
Yeah. It's getting over. So, to recap, again, Mary Ellen Croteau, does wonderful work with bottle caps. Look it up. Demilked.com. DEMILKED, as in removed from a milk bottle. Demilked. All right, so you're going to look low in the south. You see planets across the ecliptic, the path that the Earth's orbit makes, drawn out into space, which, because the solar system is fairly flat, everything follows that, except Mercury is tipped a little. Pluto is tipped quite a bit, so it's in a class by itself, a dwarf planet. But the rest of the planets follow that pathway, which is now includes Ophiuchus, the serpent bearer, 13th sign of the zodiac. You'll find Sagittarius and the heart of the Milky Way, where there is, right above the spout, is the enormous black hole at the center of our galaxy. See it? Why can't you see it? It's black. Right, it's so powerful, the gravity of a black hole is so strong that it sucks in even light, the lightest, fastest thing in the universe. Gets sucked right in. Light, even though photons, a particle of light, have no rest mass, when they move, they have something Einstein called mass energy. Mass energy, E equals mc squared. The actual formula is a little more complicated, but when something is not moving, it has a rest mass. Light doesn't, but it still gets sucked into a black hole. If you look higher in the sky, that's high in the sky, you'll find the summer triangle, 3 bright stars, right? The famous stars from science fiction, Vega from Contact, Altair from Forbidden Planet. Check it out. Fun trivia. And then low in the sky, the planets passing through the signs of the zodiac, lining up Jupiter, Saturn, Mars, and tonight, the moon, which in itself is like a planet. The moon, did you know the moon does not orbit the center of the Earth? It orbits a point just outside the center. The Earth and the moon both wobble around a common point. Pluto and its biggest moon, Charon, orbit a point completely outside of Pluto. So it's an actual double planet. But very often, the Earth-Moon system has been called the double planet. So we've got a fourth planet lined up on the zodiac tonight, our moon. Uh-oh. Or if you have opportunity to run away right now, do so carefully. It's dark. Don't trip. Yeah, there is homework. Don't forget, say after me, UACNJ. UACNJ, United Astronomy Clubs of New Jersey, is an organization of all of New Jersey's and some of Pennsylvania's astronomical organizations, even some planetaria. UACNJ.org. Check it out. We've got events and schedules and all about observatories, all stuff you can learn. It's a lot of fun. It's got a lot of information. It links to other websites. Don't forget, there are magazines you can read online or in print. Sky and Telescope, Astronomy has been out for decades. Stellarium, Celestia, fun programs that you can run on a computer or on your phone. There are too many apps to list. I use one called Skyview. You use it on your phone, you hold the phone up, and the phone's GPS system knows which way you're pointing. So if you point this way, it knows that that's north, and it'll show you the North Star. And it'll even identify it for you. In fact, it'll make you so lazy, you'll be like the people in the movie Wall-E. Check that out. You don't want to be like that. You want to learn. So you can use programs. You can go out. You can do it yourself. You can ask for help for people like us. It's a lot of fun. The International Association of Astronomical Artists is an organization I belong to. I do space art and space animation. And my website, astronomyinmotion.com, is linked there. So check it out. There's a picture of my wife and me at Niagara Falls. But that's not all you can find there. You can find my virtual reality objects that you can spin and move in 3 dimensions with any pointing device, including my favorite, fingers. Right? 3-dimensional planets and worlds. You can find all that in, shameless advertisement, my book, Space History Mysteries Solved, available everywhere, advertised everywhere, including astronomyinmotion.com. So check that out. Before we go, I'd like to remind everybody to please, very, very important, we don't want you to get injured in the dark. Let your eyes get used to the dark. The moon's going to help us out a little bit tonight, but you want to be careful moving amongst the amateur astronomers because you don't want to make them cry. Right, they're very sensitive creatures, amateur astronomers. But the last thing I'd like to say is you've been a terrific audience. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you.
All right.
I'm going to stick around for questions. Yep. And I want to thank UACNJ for allowing me to continue this series for 26 years, and I hope to do it for a few more. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Lonny, for a great presentation. Now, I know a couple of you are freezing because it is cooler. So before we get into questions, for just a few announcements. If you do need the bathroom, we do have the porta potty off to my right, your left, since you're facing me. We do have the gift shop. If all the proceeds go to keep helping our organization running, lights on, so we can still offer free programs to you guys. We do have 3 telescopes open tonight. Unfortunately, you cannot physically look through the telescope just because the sanitation procedures to be safe for all of you with COVID would end up destroying the eyepieces. And unfortunately, eyepieces are expensive, and I don't know about you, but I ain't made of money. So we do have 3 scopes down there that are presenting onto a screen for you. A couple events to notice, our astronomers on the field will remind you of this. We do actually have an ISS, International Space Station pass that will be visible tonight, as well as the Cygnus launch, I believe, is still on. Is it? Okay. Then what was Matt going on about? Sorry. Apparently I am wrong, which happens often. But the ISS pass is apparently correct. So at least I got 1 out of 2. 50%. So not 0%. Better than nothing. And now for that, are there any questions from our audience? Anyone? Hands up real high if you have any question at all. Nope. Let me just...
Confused everybody. Terrific.
I'm really good at that. Okay, great. We didn't go into hibernation either. And it looks like our online viewers are also okay. So thank you everyone for coming and have a good night.
Thank you.